This was not planned. This was just an impromptu thing. This is, you know how, um, sorry, I want to get a little word of water here and see if that'll help calm my nerves because this always makes me nervous. Okay, you know how your guides just keep at you and at you, and you're like, okay, okay, okay. All right, so let's talk about this. So this is about a call to action to end the distractions. If we think back, starting back, all the way back, first of all, just close your eyes for a second. Let's take a deep breath together so I can calm down. Oyana siano tuyono kuyono suyono oyana. Iana siano tuyono oyana kiyono tuyono oyana. Calling in our higher selves, our angels and our guides. Suyono tuyono oyana kiyono tuyono oyana. Ancestors of love and light and ascended masters, ascension council and galactic council, all of the highest of the high of love and light. And our saint goddess Bridget, please join us and help me to just give me the words that you have been building up this flame within. Please allow the words to come out clearly. Allow what words to need to be heard, what words that need to be said to be said. Oyana siano tuyono kuyono suyono oyana hayana siana ana hayana siana ana kiano tuyono oyana. Ooh, they're wanting me to calling forth the dragons, the dragons, the dragons. We're calling forth the dragons, the dragons, the dragons. A circle of dragons, of dragons, of dragons. Ooh. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Suyono tuyono kuyana siana ana 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 blessed be oyana kiyono oyana. Okay. Let's get to it and hopefully the words shall come. Because I get tongue-tied sometimes. Okay. Looking back, all the way back, like just pretend like you're on this little timeline and you're able to mentally jump back all the way to Adam and Eve. Where did all the blame go? From the beginning. From the beginning with Eve, right? She was not like revered as, well, some of us do, but she was not revered as like this knowledge seeker. Like, fuck, am I going to sit and butt naked and ignorant in a garden for the rest of my life? I'm going to grab that apple and get the knowledge that is rightfully mine. No, nobody's applauding for her for that. No, nobody's applauding her for that. They are saying, oh, she's the evil one, right? Don't like women inherently are evil from the get-go, right? So first distraction, Eve. First distraction, Eve, pinning women against women, because then we're always like everybody's side-eyeing women. Like are you like Eve? Are you like Eve? Are you like Eve? So that's the first distraction, right? Call to action in the distractions. We are going to erase that distraction of Eve, claim her as she should be claimed, as the seeker of knowledge, right? So we are cutting that cord of distraction, of Eve being evil because she was not evil. We're ending that distraction. So the next distraction, think about the witch trials. Think about the witch trials and how, and thank you for being here. And I'm sorry that if I don't reply, but I've got to just spit it out, or if it's not going to, it's just got to keep coming. All right, so think about the witch trials and how women, again, were pinned against women, women being evil. The healers were turned, like, as soon as like the consumerism of healing became a thing, and the men doctors were like, all the women are going to see these healers. Even some of the men are going to see these healers. Let's now call them these evil witches and get rid of them. How can we get rid of them? Let's cause another distraction. Let's cause another distraction. And so again, women against women, they're too busy being caught up in the distraction of hate again, and confusion again, of who to trust. We cannot trust anyone. We cannot trust anyone, not even women it's already the breakage of sisterhood. So we are going to cut that cord of distraction, because witches are not evil. Witches are the healers of our community. Witches are the ones that you go to for medicine, for healing. They are not evil. That was another big distraction from the get-go. We have been being distracted from the beginning for getting things done while we're being too busy hating on each other. And yes, Jesus does love me. And as while we are so busy hating on each other and pointing out the evil in each other, the sinners, oh, you're the sinners. Oh, snaps, you're the sinner. No, you're the sinner. We're being so distracted that we're not getting shit done. We're not getting shit done. We're not growing. We're not healing because we're being so distracted with pointing fingers at each other. And then, so distraction number one was Eve. Distraction number two, and I'm sure there's definitely some in between, but we're just getting these key points here. Then we have the witch trials, big distraction there. So we're cutting the cord of that distraction and claiming the witches as they are, as our healers, as our guides. As our sisters. We are cutting that cord of distraction. No more pointing fingers at each other. No more being distracted with this hate, with this hate. No more finger pointing, no more judging, no more like worrying about like, what is she doing? What is she doing? What is she doing? Worry about what the hell you're doing. Cutting the cords of these distractions. Cutting the cords. Oyana, siano, tuiano, kuiano, suiano, tuiano, oiana, kiano, tuiano, oyana. We are reclaiming the word witch. We are reclaiming the word healer. We are reclaiming sisterhood and bringing us back together. We are reclaiming what it means to be a woman, and women connecting to women, women connecting to women, women connecting to women, and women connecting to women, instead of throwing blame, instead of throwing stones, you are going to go and you're going to pick up the fucking stone and you're going to say, I am sorry. I am sorry that I ever judged you. I am sorry that I ever blamed you. I am sorry for all the times that myself or any other woman looked at you and judged you for any reason whatsoever. Because our eyes should be on our own souls, not on anyone else's soul. Our own souls, our own growth, our own learning, our own blessings. Correct? Oyana siano tuiano suiano oyana. Distractions. We are called to actions to end the distractions, called to action to end the distractions, called to action to end the distractions. We're cutting the cords. So, again, cutting the cord of Eve being evil. She was never the evil one. She is the one that brought knowledge to the world. Cutting the cords of the witch trials and the witch wound, cutting that cord of the blame game, the shame game, the pointing the fingers, the untrust that has been so tightly interwoven within the circle of women, that has been so hard to cut through, but we are cutting through it today. Because we are cutting the cords. Ayana siano tuiano kuiana siano oyana kana ana. Called to action to end the distraction. Okay, so more distractions. Let's talk about makeup. Let's talk about hair. Let's talk about Botox and shaving and all the things. Let's talk about all the things. We're not going to spend a ton of time. We're just going to try and go through these distractions. And this is no shame game here either. This is figuring out like where the wheres and the whys and the hows of it all, um, and reclaiming that power. So makeup. Could you go a month without makeup? Could you go a month without shaving your arms pits and your legs and your unibrow and all the things? Could you go a month without getting your Botox or doing all the things, going to get your manicures and pedicures and all these things? Again, this is not a self-care blame shame game. This is figuring out the whys and the hows of it all. We are going back to the original of why it all started. Why did we have to start wearing masks to be accepted fully into society? And if you walk out, then you're like, oh, you're frumpy, you're not taking care of yourself. If you walk out of the house with unshaved legs and unshaved armpits and no makeup on, then you're frumpy, you're ugly, you're non-acceptable. And that is a distraction, a distraction, a distraction. As women are going around pointing the fingers and looking at her and judging her, we're all in the distraction. We're not getting shit done. We're not getting shit done because we're in this blame game. We're in this pointing fingers and judging each other about each other, like, and what we look like. Look how big she is. Look how skinny she is. She needs to eat. She needs to stop eating. She needs to put on makeup. She's wearing too much makeup. She needs to do her hair. Lord, her hair is too jacked up. All the different things. Think about all the judgments you hear each and every day, all the distractions. All the distractions. So I just ask you, if you feel like you cannot walk out of the house for 1 month without makeup on, what is the why in that? And the whole reason of this challenge would be is at the end of it, you are putting on makeup for you and only you, not for anybody else. Because who are you serving? Who are you serving? Are you serving society, or are you serving your own power? Are you, it's time to reclaim that. Reclaim that and stop judging each other. Stop pointing fingers. Stop doing all of that. Same with your hair. Like, no, we did this no shave November, her no shave November, where we didn't shave for the whole month of November, not your armpits or your legs. Could you make it a whole month without shaving? And if you couldn't, why? Because who is that serving? Who is that serving? How did that begin? How did it start? Why do you feel shame walking out the door if you're not shaved? Whenever men can walk out the door all woolly bully and then be like, what's up, dude? Men aren't questioning why other men have beards. Men aren't questioning why other men have chest hair. The more, the better. Why are women judged for that? Why are women judged for wearing makeup or not wearing makeup, for doing their hair or not doing their hair, for bleaching or dyeing or not bleaching or dyeing? Because, oh, you should dye your hair because you're getting old and you have gray hair. Oh, why are you dyeing your hair? You not, why are you trying to be something you're not? It's always one thing or the other. It's a distraction, and it's time to take our power back. So I'm just asking you to ask yourself why you're doing what you're doing. And if you have questions if you are putting on your mask of makeup, of hair, of waxing, of all the things, the Botox and everything, the fillers and all of that, if you're putting on this mask to be acceptable to society, I ask you to rewind that, go back to the roots of it, take it all off, and live like a blank slate for a while until you can approach it as a matter of, I'm doing this for me and only me. And then you can do it with pride, right? You're not doing it because you would be ashamed to show up to the grocery store without makeup. You're doing it because you enjoy doing it. You love doing it. It's like an art form to do it. That is what I'm asking you to do. So, because again, it's just another distraction. Women are being distracted, and while the men are getting shit done. And it's time to this is a call to action to end the distractions. Oyana siano tuyano kuyano oyana siano tuyano oyana. So we're cutting the cords of vanity. Suiano tuyano kuyano suiano tuyano oyana, the distraction of vanity. Shuiano shuiano tuyano kuyano shuiano shuiano shuiano. Oyana siano tuyano kuyano oyana, cutting the cords of vanity, cutting the cords of judgment, cutting the cords of worrying about what other people look like. It shouldn't matter what they look like. It should matter what they act like, the words that they say, the actions that they do. Suyono, tuyono, suyono, tuyono, suyono, tuyono, kuyono, oyana. Cutting the cords, cutting the cords. Call to action in the distraction. Cutting cords, cutting cords. Call to action in the distraction. Oyana, siano, tuyono, oyana, siano, tuyono, oyana. Cutting the cords, cutting the cords, cutting the cords. Cutting the cords, cutting the cords, cutting the cords. It's so deep, it's so deep, it's so deep. Oyana kiano tuiano suiano tuiano oyana. It's cutting the cords is such a distraction, it's such a distraction. Oyana tiano suiano tuiano oyana tiano oyana. Oyana tiano oyana kiano tuiano oyana kiano tuiano oyana. Iana siano tuiano suiano oyana kiano tuiano oyana. We're cutting the cords, cutting the cords, cutting the cords. Oyana siano tuiano oyana. We're keeping our eyes on our own souls. We're keeping our eyes on our own progress of growth, of learning, of healing, so that way we can be better, show up as better healers. We can show up as better mothers and daughters and wives and partners and friends. We are cutting the cords of distraction, of judgment, of the fear involved in that, of the mistrust and all the things, so that way we could show up as more authentic selves, to be better, our best selves, that we can teach then our mothers and daughters and friends and aunts and grandmothers and all the things, all the people in our lives, that they can show up as their authentic selves. We are not only the cycle breakers, we are the cycle makers. It is time, it is time, it is time, it is time. Cutting the cords, cutting the cords, cutting the cords, ending the distractions. Suyano, tuyano, kuyano, suyano, uyana. All right, so the next distraction, you're looking at it. It's the internet. It's the scrolling. It's all the videos. It's all which I know is very ironic. So bear with me. And again, this is not a blame, shame thing. This is not telling you to completely cut the cord. This is taking our power back. We're taking it back from being a tool of distraction to our tool of knowledge and power, right? So right now, like, I mean, if you think about what all you do each and every day, how you rely on the internet, and rely on like Wi-Fi and GPS and to get you everywhere and all the different things that we rely on. This new technology is still new, right? This new technology to get us through the day. And think about how many people scroll every single day, and how many videos, cat videos you're getting, and how many different disaster videos you're getting, all the different little videos we send to each other, all the other, and I'm not, again, this is not a blame shame game on this. This is getting to the core of it all. We are taking back the power in this. Just think about how much time we spend scrolling, how much time we're spending that time even judging the women on social media. They're too young, they're too old, they're this and that and all that. We're bringing that judgment of the vanity that we talked about before into this realm now. And we're doing it even more, like all day, like scrolling and scrolling. Look at her, let's judge her, and we can comment and comment and comment with these nasty negative comments, because this is a faceless game, right? We can do that, and it's the distraction, it's the distraction, it's distraction. While you're spending your hours on social media, scrolling and judging and scrolling and judging, or just watching these mindless videos, and we're turning into these mindless golems to where we can be controlled so much easier, and we don't even know what's going on, because the time that we're spent doing that, we're not spending learning, we're not spending growing, we're not spending connecting with each other, we're not spending time talking about what's really going on, talking about how we're really feeling, talking about all the things that we should be talking about, having these fireside chats that our ancestors used to have, having these talks of sharing knowledge, having this time together of truly learning and growing and healing together. We don't have that anymore, because we're too busy scrolling and judging and scrolling and just taking in so much crap. And think about like how many people have just huge amount of anxiety nowadays. And it's because we're not meant to be taking in all of that, so much of that. We're not meant to be taking in all of that. It's too much. It's too much. We're meant to be planting seeds, literally and figuratively. We're meant to be chopping veggies and tending gardens and sitting by the fire and sharing stories of old. We're meant to be learning skills, life skills, and then sharing those life skills and to passing those on. We're meant to be like growing and excelling in life in this way of in community. But all these distractions have done such a good job just ripping the communities apart. And it's time to build the communities back together, putting us all back together again. And it's time, we need to do that by cutting the distractions. Cutting the distractions. I'm not saying giving up all social media. I'm not saying giving up YouTube. I'm not saying giving up everything. I'm just saying think about how you're spending your time on these platforms. Are you spending time on these platforms to gain knowledge, to grow, to heal? Or are you spending them to leave nasty comments that you're going to hell or whatever it is? Are you spending time? How are you spending that time? Look inside of yourself. What are you getting out of it? What are you putting into it? Are you building people up, or are you trying to tear them down? Because every time you're tearing somebody down, you're tearing yourself down, honey. You're tearing the insides of your soul apart. Your heart is ripping in two. So we've got to stop with the just throwing stones. We've got to stop with the distractions. So the call to action to end this distraction is just really calling attention to how we're spending our time on these platforms. If we're spending time on these platforms to share knowledge, to share healing, to share community, then that is amazing. Keep it up. But if we are in these platforms to spread hate, to spread chaos, if we're just absorbing like nonsense 24/7, and I'm not saying giving up, like everybody loves a good Netflix binge, right? And it's not like an inherently bad thing. It's like, but how much are we doing it? How much are we doing it? We're allowed to have like time, brainless time, right? We need these times of like unwinding, but it's like how much of it? If we're spending our lives getting sucked into all these different forms of screen time, social media and TV and all the different things, if we're spending our lives doing that, then what are we doing with what does our life look like minus all of that? If all of that, if the world went dark today, what would be left in your life? What's left? Are you able to survive? Do you know how to like plant a garden, or I mean, I'm not, and then again, this isn't a blame shame thing. I'm not the best. I'm not the best with a lot of these things too. This is a call to action for myself as well. We are being told to wake up out of these distractions. Um, so we have to just examine our lives and see how much is being filled with mindless intake that is causing us anxiety because it's just too much. It's too much. It's too much screen time. It's too much because you've got like the social media. We got to check Facebook. We got to check TikTok. We got to check Instagram. We got to check YouTube. We've got to, then at night, we got to watch our Netflix. We got to watch Amazon, right? Prime or whatever. So it's just too much, too much, too much, too much. And it's causing anxiety. We're intaking too much and our nervous systems can't handle it. And we've got to start cutting some of these distractions. Think about what all part of your day, what all part of your life is being filled with these distractions of screen times, of screens. Just picture like closing your eyes and just picture them as each one as individual screens instead of all just sucked into one phone. Picture them all individually, all the different platforms that you visit each day, including GPS, including all the different screens that you look at each day. Picture them surrounding you. Just close your eyes and picture that. Now picture, so your eyes are closed, you're surrounded by all these screens that you visit each and every day, right? You got the Netflix and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and all the different things, email and text and stuff like that. Don't forget those. Don't forget the GPS. Don't forget Google, because Lord, we all depend on Google, right? Just think about all these different screens all surrounding you. Now imagine that there's a light switch in front of you. Shut them all off. What's left in your life? What's left? What are you going to do with your day now that there's no screens? What are you going to do? What is tomorrow going to hold? What is the week going to hold? What is the month going to hold? What does your life look like now that there are no screens surrounding you? Now think about what does that mean? What does that mean? Is that as far as the distractions go? Does that mean, again, that you have to cut the cord on all of them? No, they are amazing tools. But again, we need to take back our power because they're putting it all out there. And yes, I'm using they a lot, but you know what? We're going with it. They're to distract us, because as long as we're distracted, they could do all kinds of shit back behind, like they can control the world, and we're just sitting back here going, okay, I'm just going to play my Sudoku or on my phone. Is that how you say it? On my phone. And trust me, I do Wordle. So again, I'm not throwing shade. I am claiming that shade because I'm to blame too. Not to blame, but I take responsibility too. So we were too busy playing Candy Crush and all of that stuff while they were over there ruling the world. So we've got to end the distractions. So here we go. So we're cutting the cords of programming, because you could so again, close your eyes, picture all those screens around you. And with each and every one of those screens, you've got your word games, you've got all of these different ones we've talked about already. And take a cord from each one of those. Imagine a cord from each one of those screens, and they're plugged into you. Just picture all these little cords plugged in all over your body, going from you to these screens. And it's just time suckers, it's brain suckers, because think about all the different things you're like, oh, I can't remember anything anymore. Or, I don't know how to do this or that. How many phone numbers do you really know anymore, right? And we used to be able to memorize all the words to different songs and phone numbers and all the different things. Think about what all we used to be able to do before all of these distractions. So we're going to be cutting all of these cords to all these different strings, so that way we're taking our power back, so that way we can pick and choose which ones that we need to use for knowledge, for healing, or for growth, for spreading or receiving those three things. If we're not doing those three things, then we need to put whatever boundaries in place for ourselves, and be able to decide, like, okay, I'm going to spend, an hour or two watching Netflix. I'm making that choice and I'm doing that. But don't like get sucked into the time warp of it all, where you're there until midnight because it just sucks your brain. Like it just turns you into this mindless golem, right? And because it happens to me too. So we're cutting those cords till we could take our power back. Oyana siano tuiano kuiano suiano tuiano oyana kiano tuiano oyana siano tuiano oyana. I want you to picture in your hands a pair of scissors and you're going around and you're cutting each one of these cords. Suiano tuiano kuiano suiano kuiano tuiano suiano oyana siano tuiano oyana kiano tuiano suiano oyana. Iana siano tuiano oiana siano tuiano oiana kiano tuiano oiana kiano tuiano oiana. Iana siano tuiano kuiano tuiano oiana kiano tuiano oiana siano tuiano kuiano oiana tiano oiana. Iana siano tuiano oiana. Iana siano tuiano oiana kiano tuiano oiana kiano tuiano oiana. Ayana siano tuiano oyana siano tuiano oyana kiano tuiano oyana kiano tuiano oyana. Iana siano tuiano oyana kiano tuiana iano tuiana iano tuiana iano kuiana tiano suiano oyana kiano oyana iana iana. Iana suiano kuiano oyana. Ayana siano tuiano oyana. Iana siano tuiano kuiano oyana. Ayana tuiano suiano oyana tiano oyana. Iana siano tuiano oyana. Oyana oyana oyana. Oyana suiano tuiano oyana. Oyana siano tuiano oyana. Now shaking your arms out, shaking your hands out, really just allowing all of these cords just to kind of fall away, fall away, fall away. Even taking your hand and you could kind of brush them off, brush them off, brush them off. Any remnants, just brush them off, brush them off, brush them off. Another last distraction here that we're going to talk about is the disaster distraction. Oyana siano tuiano kuiano oyana siano tuiano oyana kiano tuiano oyana kiano tuiano oyana. So we are constantly bombarded with disasters, right? And they are horrible, they horrific. It is just like the fires in LA, they are awful. The floods in our beautiful mountains are devastating. They break my heart. Those are our mountains. Our North Carolina mountains were just ripped to shreds, right? So I'm not saying like those things don't matter, but I'm just saying we are constantly being like our vision, our hearing, all of our senses are constantly being bombarded with all these different disasters that we didn't have that much back in the day, right? And there's good things and bad things about that. There are the good things is that we can use these different platforms to come together as communities to help out these different areas, and that's amazing. And in the knowledge factor behind that, we can see what's happening in the world, but we need to remember that we need to draw boundaries for ourselves around that as well, just to make sure that we're not falling into the disaster distraction with all the different the violence in our communities, in our world, and the whether it's man-made or naturally made, all the different, it's the disaster distraction. It's like between shootings and robberies and fires and floods and tsunamis and all the different things over and over and over again. See, if you see something like if something happens, like the our mountain flooding, it breaks your heart. You want to fix it, get in there and help. Don't sit there on these platforms and just keep absorbing it over and over and over again, all the different things. Again, gain the knowledge of it, of these are the things that happened, but don't keep just like marinating in it. Don't marinate in disaster after disaster after disaster after disaster because it's the disaster distraction. While we're being distracted by all the disasters, other people are out there getting shit done. So again, this is a call to action to end the distractions. So again, I'm not blame shaming all the different things of awareness of the disasters, of the awareness of the violence in our world. Be aware. Use these platforms for knowledge, to gain knowledge, to give knowledge, share knowledge, for to gain healing, to share healing, all the things. But don't get lost in the sea of and distraction of the disaster distraction. Um, Again, there's a balance. So we're going to cut the cord of like needing, because our we are also been programmed to like to it's almost like we desire violence, that we desire the disasters, that it's like more, more, more. It's like we get hungry for it. It's like these monsters are inside of us going more, 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 right? And then we share those videos with others, like, oh, look at this disaster. Look at this. It's just horrific. Look at this. And then we are spreading that disaster distraction to others. So we need to cut the cords to that. Again, just giving ourselves the power back and choosing how to use the knowledge, to share the knowledge, the gain of knowledge, all the things. So cutting the cords of the disaster distraction. This is about bringing self-awareness to ourselves. How are we a part of the problem? How are we part of the solution? Are we the ones sharing all the disaster distraction videos? Are we the ones sharing all the disaster distraction, like all the different posts and all the different things? Like, look at all these horrific things. Or are we sharing like bits of truth and knowledge? How are we doing that? Are we doing it, and why are we doing it? What are the whys behind it? Get to the root of things. This is what we're being called to do too, is just to go deeper, to get to the root of the matter of all, that each and every one of the matters of why, the whys of it and the hows of it all. Like, why are we doing these different things? Is it because, are we gaining anything from it besides more anxiety, more anger, more hate, more distraction? Is it keeping us from growing and healing and learning, and as a community, as a whole? Is it keeping us from that? And if it is, then you need to step back. You need to step aside and be like, maybe reach out to a community leader. How can I help in this situation, instead of diving into the, um, you know, social media platforms of it all. So again, we are cutting the cords of the disaster distraction. So just bringing back self-awareness, bringing the power, giving ourselves the power back and choice of not getting sucked into the mindless golem stage of the scrolling the disasters and spreading the disasters. We are just giving our power back. So cutting the cords of that, closing your eyes and just picturing and just really thinking about asking your heart, asking your guides, like, help me, like, how am I, how am I a part of this disaster distraction? How is it affecting me? And how can I do better? How can I be better? How can I take my power back in this situation? How can I be more aware, self-aware in this? Oyana siano tuyano kuyana siano tuyano oyana kiano tuyano oyana kiano tuyano oyana siano tuyano kuyano tuyano oyana kiano tuyano oyana siano tuyano oyana iana siano tuyano oyana kiano tuyano oyana kiano tuyano oyana Iana siano tuiano uiana kiano tuiano uiana siano tuiano uiana. Iana siano tuiano uiana kiano tuiano uiana. Uiana siano tuiano uiana. Iana siano tuiano uiana. Iana siano tuiano uiana. Iana siano tuiano uiana. Ayana siano tuiano uiana. Uiana siano tuiano uiana. Oyana siano tuyano oyana kiano tuyano oyana siano tuyano oyana kiano tuyano oyana. Now is the time for community. Now is the time for connection. Now is the time for a rising up of our feminine power, of our feminine will, of our feminine connections with our sisters. That now is a time of sisterhood. Now is a time for the women to gather, for the women to plan, for the women to heal, for the women to grow, for the women to learn, and men as well. Don't get me wrong, but my calling is really is a deep calling to help heal women, to help us grow together. Oyana siano tuiono kuiono suiono tuiono oyana siano oyana kiano tuiono oyana. To heal these witch wombs, to heal these sister wombs, to heal these parts of ourselves that has been ripped apart by these distractions. So we are healing, we are here to heal. Oyana siano tuiono kuiono suiono oyana, to unplug all of this programming of distractions, whether it's from the very get-go with Eve, from the witch wound, from the vanity and societal wounds, the programmings and all of that, to the disaster distractions, to always it's just one distraction after the other, keeping us from becoming these beautiful, powerful communities of women that are full of knowledge, right? Now is the time for us to gather and to grow as women, as like these powerful, beautiful goddesses, these beings of light, to reclaim our power, to undo the programming, the societal programming, undo the programming that we played a part in. We played a part in this. We didn't get we weren't birthed and then they handed us a phone. And I know a lot of us, our parents may have if you were born in that time, there was no cell phones when I was born, but I'm just saying, but still, we still make the daily choice. So we need to own our part of that, become more self-aware of that, become actively involved with cutting the cords, with getting rid of the distractions. We're being called to action to end the distractions, to get back down to the wisdom of things, the wisdom of things. And just to love, honor, and respect each other in a way that we haven't seen in decades and forever. We are being called to go back before Eve, before we started casting stones at each other, before all of that. When we just held each other, tight and asked us, what do you need? What does your soul need today? How can I be of service to you? Woman to woman, how can I be of service to you? And then looking in the mirror, like, how can I grow today? What can I do today to make this life of mine even better? What can I learn today? How can I heal today? What can I grow today? What can I cook today? I'm gonna chop up some veggies and cook something from scratch. We're gonna do we're being called to again, we're breaking cycles, we're making cycles. We're going back in time, learning the wisdom of our ancestors, changing it into something new with the world that's today, with this new world that we're building, combining the two into where they can fit together nicely, right? We're making this new reality for ourselves. So this is just part of it. This cutting call to action to end the distractions, to cut the cords with all of that is just part of it. And so this is and it's a big part, right? It's a big part. We're so deep in this programming. Ooh, we are so deep. I mean, think about all the scrolling. Think about all the doom scrolling. Think about all of it that we all take part of in each day. Think about the role that you play. Think about how you judge other women each and every day instead of becoming more self-aware and how you need to be healed and how you could be a better person, a better human, more full of love and light, more full of knowledge and wisdom that we could pass on to others. Um, because again, like at the end of the day, if all the screens went blank, what knowledge do we have to pass on to the next generation that's not in the screen? You know, what knowledge are we passing if all the screens were to go dark? What knowledge do we have to pass on? And what knowledge do we contain within ourselves? What books do you really have, like in paper form? That's not just in there. And I'm a huge lover, a huge fan of audiobooks. So I've been trying to do a little better about like getting a few like in like paper without being a hoarder. So there's that fun line. but, so anyway, we're being called to become more self-aware. Like, how am I being a detriment, or how am I being help to where we need to go? Like, am I holding us back? Don't become stagnant in the anger and in the distractions and in all the fear. Don't become stagnant and frozen in this time. It is time to cut that cord so that way we can move forward in building this new like bank of wisdom and knowledge that we all need to move forward, that we can pass on something to the next generation even if the world was to go black. It is time, it is time, it is time. So thank you very much. I think that's it. All right, one last little blessing, they want. Okay. Oyena siono tuyono kuyono tuyono oyena kiyono tuyono oyena siono tuyono oyena. And again, that this is all shared in love, not in blame or shame. We are all in this process of healing. We are all in this process of deprogramming. We are all in the process of reclaiming our power. And we are here to help each other, to hold our hands out to each other and walk into this new way of living together, and not as with pointing fingers like she's doing it wrong and she's doing it wrong and she's doing it wrong. We're not here to do that. We are here to help lift each other up, to help guide each other. So, like, take what information is for you, take that and run. Leave whatever information is not for you, leave it behind. Oyana siano tuiano kuiano oyana. You can leave that on the table and just move on your merry way. So, but we are all in this together. So I thank you for being here. Much love. Oyana siano tuiano oyana. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be.